Okay, so here we go. And essentially, he ejaculates in his pants and sits there after listening because he got really turned on by her, I guess. And essentially, he's kind of scared that her father's coming home, and her father hates white people.
Yeah, it shows that racism is basically a two-way street, just like anything else.
Well, not only that racism is a two-way street, but I think he kind of blames white people for the position black people are in. But I think it's kind of interesting because she came from like an upper class
Her father was a doctor.
Yeah, it seems like they come from a really upper class place, which is interesting when compared to later on in the film. But essentially, they go in a relationship. And at one point in the film, I don't want to, we're probably going to talk about that later, but they are both kidnapped by a black gangster. Yeah, a black gangster who essentially, in many ways, kind of psychologically tortures them.
Yes, he's a psychotic guy because in the numbers racket that Ben's father is running, this man was the first one to win it for $100,000. Now, this $100,000 winner doesn't get paid all his money. So his entire plot is to kidnap Ben in order to obtain the money from his father.
Yeah. So, essentially, the black guy kidnaps him, and I think in many ways the black guy kind of represents the negativity of these two relationships. Because up until this point, this relationship has been looked down upon, but has been very innocent, has been very kind of, and I think the actor and the actress have a tremendous amount of chemistry together. They really, really look cute together, and they just seem to get along very well. But,
just a random note for anybody who plans on buying this little double feature thing, you're going to find it odd that these two movies are considered comedy, because there's very little that's comical
It's kind of a black comedy.
Yeah, that's nice choice of words.
Yeah.
Considering the situation.
But essentially, he kind of starts tormenting them and basically saying how, like, oh, well, you want to fuck her. And basically keeps on saying, you want to fuck her, you want to do this. And he keeps on tormenting them as a couple in general and kind of showing his disapproval towards it, but how much he likes taunting them, and specifically sexually taunting them. At one point, he basically tells the boy to basically grab her breast, and basically he refuses to.
And he ends up putting the boy at gunpoint because he gets some kind of strange, sick, twisted pleasure out of it.
I think this kind of represents society scoffing at this kind of innocence and kind of mocking them, and basically the harshness of reality crashing in for the both of them.
Because when you look at this movie in terms of their two storylines, and even from his father's story, Melvin, his character basically represents all the negativity and harsh reality of the world during this time period, whereas Sylvia and Ben represent the childlike naivety and the hope for a better world.
Yeah.
And Ben's father represents the determination of a people who have been looked down upon by society. He represents someone who is trying to change it. Because, well, let's just admit it, this was a very harsh time in American history.
Yeah, right coming after World War II.
Right after World War II, integration was happening. There was a lot going on. Civil rights movement.
I think what's also very interesting about this movie is how it shows that it will be the previous generations that will break away from the culture and have very little, many ways, respect from the culture, but they will change the things that are wrong with the culture.
This movie is almost like almost foreshadowing what is to come in the 60s with the rise of the counterculture.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting how Ben, as a Jew, seems to have very little respect for Judaism, really little respect for his culture. There's an early scene in the movie where he's kind of making fun of Judaism and stories in the Bible and how
him and his brother.
Yeah, how they're impossible and how they couldn't have possibly have happened. And then there's a later scene in the movie during Halloween where he dresses up as Hitler and basically wants to go out with his friends who are just as Vikings. I don't know why he wouldn't want to dress up as a Viking or a combination of a Nazi and a Viking. That would have been cool.
But and I remember mentioning earlier the whole thing about his older brother's love interest with this woman. The thing that it's very interesting about is that even though it's borderline unnecessary for the entire movie, the interesting thing is that there is one small hint of symbolism with them. She appears to be this perfect person to him. She is basically his embodiment of his dream girl. But upon their first night together, he finds that she is much less than he expected her to be. Because she seems to have all these problems, one of which happens to be that her father is gay.
Yeah.
And
her mother, I guess, is having sex with other people too. I don't really know.
Yeah,
They don't go into detail about that. She just kind of goes, "Oh, they have a rearrangement," and she's clearly really drunk.
Yes, and she has this weird psychological issue, but it kind of shows she's almost in her own way representation of a cloud. A cloud appears light and perfect and amazing to the eye, but it holds many masses, and with the cloud usually comes the rain. She represents this kind of emotional mass that's built up. She kind of almost represents the pain and suffering of those who hold the highest esteem in society.
I think she kind of, to me, represents kind of a naive look at the world. While in many ways I think the brother has a naive look at the world, he kind of views things as that things are going to be okay, that people won't judge his interracial relationship. I think he has this kind of naive idea that he will automatically find this perfect girl, that things will automatically go good for him. And to be frank, the reason why I dislike his story and his character arc more is because I think it's more sudden. I think it's less placed. I think if we had more character development of him and why he feels like that, I would have liked it more, but I kind of feel like his story is just kind of random. It's just kind of like, we're having this interracial thing, and then this defending your honor thing with the father, but then it's just him kind of finding his dream girl, and really that not really going anywhere. And that's why I kind of feel like it should have been cut, because it doesn't really follow the themes of culture with the other two.
No, it doesn't. It just follows this. It's an overly optimistic part of the movie, because it's the idea that maybe if you find love, it can make things so much better, but then you find out that what you were searching for all this time may have just been a lie.
Or that relationships aren't as easy as you once thought.
Yeah, and maybe that the world, and maybe that people in the world in general aren't as perfect as you'd want them to be. Sometimes your best dream can be a terrible nightmare. Actually, the philosopher Philaphos actually wrote, "My best dreams and my worst nightmares have the same people in them."
Alright, but I think essentially the main theme that they're trying to connect is that naivety, and especially naivety about love, but especially about society, is one of the major themes towards the movie, and how society will react to things. And I think you're right, this does have a lot of foreshadowing to the 60s and stuff, and how there will be radical civil rights movements and anti-war movements, and essentially how this is all being foreshadowed in this movie. I think also that this film is really talking about naivety and basically how the young are naive and how the young are naive. I want to get back to the...
Because we're out of time for this one.